We are live, coming here with a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host Trevor, and tonight we are joined by Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Yo, yo, yo.
And we are here, just me and Alex, BMFEP, the original duo. What else is new? We're here, episode 2, 3, 4. We're on episode 5, right?
Yep, it's chaos.
It was chaos. Initial thoughts on tonight's episode, Alex. Chaos? Is that just the word?
Yeah, it definitely a lot of chaos tonight. I mean, I'll just go on record. Best episode of the season. I loved it. Not only did I love it, I actually feel like we're in a pretty good spot for the season as a whole. I'm not going to say we're anything close to the glory days, but this was the closest that I felt to a glory days episode in a long, long time. And then you finish that with the preview. I think I literally saw a butt cheek in the season, and then the preview for next week. They're in a mud pit. You know, you got more champs coming. So I'm on cloud 9 right now.
So last week, I was probably the most critical of last week's episode, saying we're dead. STP. I don't know how much we got left in me, Teach, to do these pods. I think tonight was the Undertaker meme of him sitting back up. I think we're back. I think we are back. And I don't know if it was just the Jordan hangover, like the after effect, but by God, what an episode with him coming back on. Like, I'm excited to talk about this. I kind of just want to skip the first 75 minutes and just talk strictly about Jordan. But you know us, we'll keep it on the rails as best as possible. But before we talk about tonight's episode, I think the first thing that we got to bring up is, where's Andy? Is he hiding? Is he hiding in the apartment? Are you going to pull the screen now? He said, "Oh, I can't join tonight." Blah blah blah. Let's see him. Let's see him in the apartment.
Yeah, no, I think he's actually out tonight, and I think if I could only speculate, my only thing would be, I know Fezzi isn't a champ, but I don't know if Fezzi won some sort of spinoff recently where TJ's saying, you know, there's chaos, there's these big heavy hitters coming in, and he thought, oh shit, maybe Fezzi's going to be in the elimination, and he was like, I do not want to be there for that.
I mean, I think some are saying that, honestly. I think he's scared. I think, best episode of the year, and he's not here. I don't know if the 2.5 hour episode literally broke him, but here we are.
I would have hated to miss tonight's episode.
All right, so let's dive right in. And, the best way to dive right in is at the start of the episode. And guess what we had tonight? The good old streak. The streak is, what is this episode? How many streaks are we officially on now? 4?
For this season?
4, right?
2. No, I think 3. Well, yeah,
double last week.
We're counting 2 for last week, right?
Correct. It was 2 different episodes.
Yeah, you're right. So
1 episode.
4 in a row. Because Kylan, my man, was first in the house.
Correct. So he comes back, and I feel like the first, I don't even know. The first 5 minutes, nothing really happened that was big except the clock. We see the countdown timer. I think it's at 13 hours to go. And everybody's like, oh, what's this clock? They're freaking out, blah, blah, blah. Nothing good. What at this moment in the game, what are your thoughts, Alex? Are you excited? Do we care that this clock's at 0, or did we already know Jordan was coming? It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I thought the clock itself kind of carries into the theme of the whole episode, which is chaos, the introduction of chaos. And I thought them getting back to the house and seeing the countdown clock was just the perfect mix of challenge excitement mixed with they're literally just jumping up and down over numbers on a thing on a wall. They don't know what's happening, but they're all just so dumb that it just any change sort of gets them that excited, and that's just so fun to watch. like going back to what I said earlier about the glory days. This was not a glory days episode by any means, but like it did give me vibes of like you just have these fun idiots in a house like trying to drink, trying to party. They come back, they celebrate the elimination. It's like the 2013 version of, we're going to Argentina. TJ just texted us on our T-Mobile sidekick, where's Argentina? And all of that. That's just kind of the community getting excited vibe that I got from this first 5-10 minutes here.
Yeah, one thing I do want to bring up about the first 5 minutes, though, was the first thing I got to bring up is the foreshadowing. And that was a common theme of tonight's episode. And we first saw the classic foreshadowing. I think you tweeted about it, Corey and Keyboard Smash, like right away, like, oh, we're best buds, dabbing each other up, all good, blah, blah, blah. And, I just don't get it, man. It can't be that hard to edit an episode like this. Like you're filming these clowns for how long? You have 90 minutes. If you're just trying to throw content in, like we've always said, let's just go to 60 minutes and just cut the BS. Perfect example of the BS. We didn't need to know all that stupid foreshadowing. So
Yeah, I agree. And we'll get into I think you have a good take on the episode and the elimination later in terms of like what they show on the previews and everything. But yeah, I mean the foreshadowing with what's his name, Corey and Asaf, they're best friends, and obviously we see that comes crashing down. But yeah, definitely a weak spot of tonight was the foreshadowing.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Like this has been a recurring thing. Like every season is just enough. I think last week's episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. They literally foreshadowed the winner of the elimination before it actually even happened.
Yeah, I would love to talk to like one of the producers and like get their take on like why they do that. Is it like because they think we're that dumb and like we need to have our hand held through the entire episode, or what is it?
I don't know. And then kind of the last thing before we get into the daily was kind of there was some tension between the US versus UK. You could start to see that divide a little more clear. Which I mean, it's funny how you look back 10 seasons ago, 5 seasons ago, and it was real world versus are you the one, and now we're to the fact that it's literally country versus country. I mean, this is just out of control. Like we can't even divvy up the shows anymore.
Yeah, they're literally just joining by their wherever they live.
I mean, what's next? Earth versus Mars?
Aliens. The Emmy's already been on. She is an alien.
We're Team
probably
Moon.
next.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Mariah's probably Team Moon as well.
They cut to the Universal Alliance, and it's Emmy and ET.
Yes, that's good. All right, so going into the daily challenge, we get to see them all come in, and there's this giant runway, and it's about time we see something like crazy like this. No puzzle, nothing stupid. Like, let's strap somebody in, and we're just gonna have them kind of go upside down on the side of a semi truck, or the semi of the semi of the semi truck, going up and around, grabbing the rings and throwing it on the poles. I saw you tweeted you weren't that big of a fan. I think this was just a common daily challenge. Like I was fine with it. I thought it was interesting. I think some of their tactics were some of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think so. I think we also need to touch on the things that TJ mentioned before they actually started, which was more chaos. I love TJ saying this is chaos. You guys from now on, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like every challenge now there's going to be a new format. So like next week they might be all on their own. They might be teams of 4. They might be new partners, but it's kind of very free agents-esque in terms of week to week. And TJ explains that to them, and I think Ed from the Circle said that's chaos right there. And that's just the quote of the night for me. That's chaos right there. That's literally just a challenge. That's the format for the challenge, and he thinks that's chaos. But another good thing that I think we both were fans of was the fact that they did random teams. They did random teams, and not only random teams, but like you literally saw TJ call out every team.
Nothing better than that in challenge. Literally
Mhm.
straight up, you're seeing it go. It it
They
was
did
literally those
they
same circles as what they used to do. It literally I had a little tear in my eye
they
watching
did
it.
that on, like, free agents, right? Like, TJ had the little sack, and he would pull
Yes.
out, "Brandon, you're with Latoya."
I mean, dude, I love free agents. I'm sorry. That season is just awesome. Kind of giving me the itch to rewatch it right now. It kind of brought me back when I saw the runway with it and then the little circles. What's it called? It reminded me of the what was the one in free agents where they had to like drive stick shift and then they had to
Oh,
drive the
yeah.
little but yeah. Also Ed from the Circle getting to explain the rules was awesome. Yeah, I
Oh, yeah.
mean, I texted Alex right away about that. I was just like, just what a smirk. Like, if you are that first confessional, like right after commercial break, I don't need you. You can literally just mute that person and just be like, oh, they explained the rules. It's all good.
It is always they start the challenge. Sometimes the first team goes, or sometimes nobody goes. They come back from commercial, and it's Ed from the Circle or Casey or Asoff explaining the rules. That's just classic.
Let me go this route with you with explaining the rules. How many characters do you think they record doing the exact same lines, and how many are actually takeable to use?
I would say at least 3.
Okay.
Like for this one, I bet they probably did Ed from the Circle, maybe Michelle, and like a wild card, like Emmanuel.
What about Colleen?
You mean Kim?
Oh, Kim and Colleen. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's confusing.
maybe they probably zoomed down a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Jesus Christ. So Alex, what was your thoughts on the daily?
In my opinion, the daily from starting the first team to ending with the last team was a big part of the episode. If I'm being honest, I just didn't love it, and it wasn't. It was two things. One, they definitely could have gone faster. This was the type of challenge where they do the first couple teams, and then they just do the montage where they play a '90s song, and they speed through the teams, and then they end with like maybe one team. So I think it just it's too long. But also, if I'm doing a chaos challenge, the first chaos challenge and its partners, I would have loved to have seen something where like communication was more of a factor. This one, I feel like it didn't really matter who your partner was. You're doing the same thing, trying to get the things, drop them on the thing. I would have loved to see, James yelling at Nerese or Mariah, jumping around. A cheek falls out. She's yelling at Ed from the Circle, whoever her partner was. Like, I would have loved to have seen like people getting mad at each other. That, especially from a first challenge. Like, I think this one would have been better a little later once we've settled into the chaos. But I think right now it was just a very ho hum daily. And again, I like the fact that they did random teams. It looked cool, all that, and I loved the rest of the episode. But I think this was probably the weak 15, 20 minutes of the episode, in my opinion.
How much money do you think they spent on this daily? Like, is this a lot of money to produce? Like, oh, we got to rent a semi of the semi truck. You got to like have like the giant like I don't even know the double sided like spinner thing on this. Like, I mean, surely it can't be that safe, right?
Well, the semi truck, the semi was like the double, triple decker. It kind of reminded me of
The
that thing in
jumping.
Harry Potter. That's like
Oh, come on.
plus that's like 3 levels, and it's just going 90 through through like the downtown.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
That's it. God, this is a wild pod early.
Mike the doctor writes in the chat, need the stat department to count how many times chaos was said tonight or Andy's punishment for missing tonight. I like that. I think from this moment on at 14:27 into this pod, Andy should start counting how many times we say chaos. And that is the first one. That is
Wait,
the
do you mean
first chaos. Now we're at the second.
what about the episode though?
Like oh, in the entire episode?
Yeah, I think he has to. We tell him that, but when he starts watching tonight's episode, he has to tell us how many times they say chaos.
I mean, that's just chaotic.
God, this is what the challenge does to us. They give us one little word, and they hype it up, and now we're hyping it up.
Well, you know what I'm picturing right now, which is just absolute chaos, is like the Google, like you can see like, oh, how much, like back in 1945, this word was used how many times? And you see like the graph of chaos, and then you're just gonna see like it's just like this, maybe a little bump, whatever, and then it's just gonna be like 2023. It's just gonna be like a spike up or whatever. God.
That's just chaos.
God, so chaotic. I mean, all right, let's get back on the tracks. I feel like we're like Harry Potter and Ron with driving the car. So
Midair.
yeah, exactly. So Corey and Raven pick up the dub,
Mm-hmm.
and at this moment, Tej was like, "Hey, this is so we're in chaos mode now. So let's bring them down." So he brings both of them down and literally has them pick on the spot who they want thrown in to the elimination. And they decide to pick Keyboard Smash. What was your thoughts on that?
I mean, definitely interesting. I didn't really see it coming, but I think that's just because this is chaos. And I think because if you would have asked me like not who's Corey's partner, but who's Corey sending in, I wouldn't have really known who to pick. I guess I would have said like Callum or Sierra Mist or like one of the Brits. So Aesop was kind of out of left field. And, we got the foreshadowing too. So I guess it wasn't out of left field. But I definitely loved the reaction. Aesop getting mad and then Corey getting mad that he's getting mad. It's just all chaos.
God.
Yeah, like Mikey the Doctor says, Corey and Aesop are brothers. And then, we find out later that they met 2 weeks ago. But what about – so do we think that since they're only sending in a man, that means next week is just a woman?
That would be my guess.
And
Or
then
it would just be chaos at that point. All right, we're done. We're done. We cannot say that word for a little bit. We need a 5-minute buffer.
Okay, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Starting now.
Wait. That's just all right, let's go.
So they Corey and Raven. So I think they each got a pick, but they kind of talked about it and they were unanimous and they picked Aesop, and Aesop goes in, and then we go back to the house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Back to the house. I think that they do the classic. Everybody get home. They unpack. I'm so mad. Or what is my alliance going to do? But I think pretty quickly they go to the club, which you've always been a fan of, right, Trev?
Yeah, the club. Once I came up with that name, I just kind of run with it. And then speaking of the club, it kind of reminds me of Fresh Meat and how we should get Fresh Meat 3, right? Could you imagine?
You've been saying that for so long.
Oh, yeah, I know. Thanks. But wouldn't a club with Fresh Meat 3 characters just be awesome?
Oh, yeah. It would be chaos. Oh, shit.
We said 5 minutes. That was not even 90 seconds.
All right, restart it. All right. We won't say it till 10 o'clock Eastern.
What time is it now? 9:55. Okay, there.
Okay. I feel like Michael Scott when they tell him that you can't say that's what she said anymore.
God.
I don't know if I can go all night long. All right, what was after the club? Oh, we got the big thing from the club was Nerys and Horacio.
Yeah, good for Horacio.
Yeah, and the thing, Trev, that I loved about this was the fact that, we already knew this was going to be a season storyline. We didn't know exactly when because obviously they're, I think, still dating. But the thing I loved about it tonight is that they didn't dwell on it. They didn't dwell on it. They just kind of gave us the seeds, right? Nerys and Horacio, you saw Jay say, they're all my best friends. He's best friends with everybody. I don't want this turning south. You got a few other challengers commenting on it. That's what I like. You have them making out on the dance floor. You don't need to have them go back and, Nerys says, Horacio, who's your vote going to be? Blah, blah, blah. Just plant the seed. We'll get more of it throughout the season. And I think that was just that was like the best 5-10 minute introduction that we could have gotten to what we're thinking is going to be a season long storyline.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, I fair play. Horcrux from Horcrux to Horacio dating Nuris. I mean
There we go.
that's a hell of an upgrade in a year. That's all I
Yeah.
gotta say. One other thing I want to talk about at the club was Corey and Michelle. And I don't get why the girls were so paranoid. I get the game was very something. like, I know the
Very
game was
crazy.
very, what?
Crazy.
Crazy, very sketchy. But why was all the girls so paranoid that they were going to be thrown into an elimination because their the guy partner was thrown? It's an individual game. Like you're not getting thrown in. And Michelle was just freaking out at Corey. Like, why would you not think about me? Oh yeah, when Teach puts me on the spot, the first thing I was like, oh, what's Michelle gonna think?
Yeah, the fact they're literally and this sadly did become kind of one of the storylines from the episode. The fact that they're like literally inventing rules or like game mechanisms that don't exist. They've done this a couple times now. I remember they were freaking out about the burn votes, like, oh, you can only call in the people that have voted for you. Like TJ didn't say that. TJ didn't say this is a women's elimination. He literally said just pick a guy, and like these people are so paranoid because of the craziness around them that they are inventing rules that don't even exist. And it's kind of stupid, but also kind of smirk at the same time.
It just shows like how much power Teach actually has.
Oh, yeah. Somebody, I think it was Michelle, said when she was crying to Corey in the club, I think she said, TJ? I spit up my water at that. TJ? Like, are you an idiot? You think TJ's like, oh my God, it was absurd. The fact that like
It was,
they
yeah, it was
didn't,
just mayhem. Like it was nuts.
it was.
God. Alrighty. After the club, what do we have, Alex? I am kind of forgetting.
So after the club, I think they just do the,
Oh,
everybody's.
no. The Jordan foreshadow.
Yeah, should we get into that now?
I would kind of want to get into it in about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, but yeah, I kind of do.
Um, let's do the deliberation real quick. So the deliberation, which I guess this time they actually did the votes at deliberation, maybe because of the draw that they had to coordinate production wise. But they sit outside, they go around a circle talking about who they're voting in, and really the main two names are Emmanuel and Sierra Mist, right?
Correct.
And it's mainly it's Sierra is mainly in discussions because Asaf says he wants him to go in, right? And I mean it's the
Correct.
UK versus US, but they end up making those two guys the names partly because of what Asaf is saying in his broken English.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how I just don't get the voting that these guys are doing and girls are doing. It's just so it's just so stupid and so dumb. But I don't know. I mean, I do kind of like this voting process. I like how they get thrown in, but I just don't understand why they initially did it. It's just so chaotic. It's
There
just
it
out of
is.
control.
10 o'clock. Yeah, the voting is just at this point pure chaos. They're all saying chaos about every 5 words. But yeah, they end up voting Sierran. But let's rewind a little bit to what you mentioned, the Jordan foreshadowing. And so the foreshadowing that we mentioned, is this, I mean, where do we go here? Do we describe it first? Talk about how bad it was?
You describe it because it was just absolutely it was banana lands.
Okay, yeah. So the foreshadowing that we're talking about, obviously every episode they kind of do, a few different scenes of where they flash to a bedroom. Usually this season, they flash to a bedroom and it's a few different challengers and they're talking about their plans and everything. Tonight's episode, they go to this is right after the club, but I think maybe the next day, and they go to Raven and Sierra, which I don't know if those two people have ever talked before, and maybe a third or fourth person in the background, and they start talking, about who to vote in and everything, and I think somebody says something about Horacio, and then Raven's like, oh well, Horacio beat Jordan last week, or last season. Just completely kind of out of the blue. Like nobody's talking about last season or anything. And then Ciaran's like, oh, who's Jordan? And Raven's like, you don't know who Jordan is? He's a beast. He's one of the best challengers ever. And then they cut to the Jordan highlights, I will send you home and the flipping the cards and winning finals and all of this shit. And it's awesome. Like the highlight reel is awesome, but it's literally coming out of this like bedroom conversation about two people who have like, I guess Raven did compete on last season with Jordan, but I don't know if either of them remember that. And it was just the most forced thing of all time, especially adding on top of the fact, maybe we get into this now, Trev, adding on to the fact that we knew Jordan was coming. So it was a completely like, do we really need these 2 minutes? We already know he's coming. The fact that you're kind of telling us that Ciaran's going to be in elimination, it just was a really bad scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way in hell that they just brought that up naturally. There's no way. There's no chance. But I'm like thinking now, like, how did it get brought up then? Like, there's no way that they were just like, I'm just picturing, yeah, remember that Jordan guy? like holding the camera. They're like, psh, Jordan. Psh.
Oh. I think they had to have been like, these are, I guess our fans are so dumb. They need to know that Jordan's coming in. And the only way to somehow connect Jordan to this season is through Horacio, because they competed against each other last season, even though Horacio, this episode, wasn't a big player. And so they were like, let's bring up Horacio somehow. And then they're like, all right, Raven, you're going to say this about Jordan. You competed with him last season. Ciaran's going to say, oh, I would love to go against Jordan. Like, just the most planted conversation I think we've ever seen.
But, like, if you're those two clowns, like, would you not realize, oh, why is Jordan being brought up? He must literally be coming in the house or something. Like, how would you not process like, oh, why Jordan? Cuts to the next week's episode. Hey, why don't you bring up CT and elimination?
See, that is a great point. I didn't even think about that, but then you just look at Ciaran and you see what he looks like, and you're like, all right, I don't know if he's going to do a whole lot of thinking. Should we get to the elimination?
Let's go. Let's dive right in.
All right. So the elimination, which, I mean, the best part of the episode, we get there, and at this point, we know that Ciaran and Asaph are both going down. So we get there, they both go down, and then TJ says, in case you forgot, this stage of the game is called chaos. So they cut to commercial, and then
not to mention, the word chaos was said probably 75 times, but they were just like, just in case you guys forgot.
Just reminding them that was chaos. God. Just reminding
them. It sounds kind of chaos. Uh-oh, we lost audio.
At every step of the game, it's chaos. So they cut to commercial. Jordan comes out. And what do we think about just in terms of the mechanism of which the champs are going to compete against who? So, like, in the past, we've had mercenaries where it's like, Jordan would have gone one round against Ciaran, one round against Asaph. Instead, there's a draw with 3 swords. Allegedly, 2 of them have the names of the 2 people down there. And then one of them is basically a mystery bag because it's chaos. And then whoever he draws is his opponent. What do we think about that?
I mean, first off, I love it. Lastly, if the third thing is blank and it's like it's a dud, or remember when it was like a dud the one year for eliminations? Dumbest thing ever. But if one of those dagger things had Jordan's name on it and he got to pick, I bulge at that.
So my first thought is that on tonight's episode, I think they put Sierran's name on 2 swords, and they didn't tell anybody. That's just my opinion. I don't think they wanted to reveal the big mystery bag yet. I think they're waiting on that.
Sorry, I'm reading Mike the Doctor. I hope the third sword says chaos.
It legitimately might. It might. And I think that third sword probably is what you said, where they just get to pick anybody. I really can't think of like another option. I mean, maybe it's like if he pulled the mystery bag tonight, maybe Asaph and Sierran go in against each other, and then the loser goes home, and then the winner plays Jordan, or Jordan doesn't do anything. I don't know. I would guess he gets to pick anybody, but I think they're definitely fudging it and trying to save it for a few weeks.
What if Jordan just went up there and just grabbed all 3? And he's just like,
the flashback.
God, down goes Jordan.
I think we watched that episode together at your house.
Did we?
I think so.
It all just blends together these days.
Because that was back in the day, and we'll get into this.
It's not like we had a reoccurring theme of free agents being good, by the way. Oh, that wasn't free agents, right? No, that was. No.
That was free agents.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm just saying.
That was back in the day where like we didn't know what was actually going to happen in that episode. They basically.
And that's what I want to get. I didn't know when we wanted to talk about that. Should we just dive right in there?
Let's do that now before the elimination, because the elimination itself is awesome. But let's get into the reveal.
I will say this. Back to foreshadowing, back to everything. If they didn't tell us before the season champs were coming on for these eliminations or whatever, if they didn't tell us literally the 10 or whatever, and last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever, that Jordan was coming on for this episode, so it was a complete shot in the dark, I think this would have been a top 10 challenge moment of all time. If it was a complete in the dark, we weren't experiencing, like nobody knew this was coming, like I really think it would have been one of those moments where us on life support, like we're done with the show, we're thinking about just hanging it up. I don't know how much I got left in me, Teach. And then we see Jordan come on our screen. I think we would have been so shell-shocked. I don't know if we even would have started recording yet. Like, yeah. I'm telling you, like, if we had no idea and they just brought a champ in, it would have been so chaotic. It would have been chaos.
I mean, that's a great point, and it's almost like hard to even sort of align how we would be feeling, just because, you know, they shove it down our throats so much. But like, if you think about, I was just thinking, like, if you think about the top challenge moments of all time, right? And, you know, one of them being the bananas backpack, part of the reason why that moment was so great is because you had no idea CT was coming. I think they maybe showed CT on the trailer, but like that was it. It was a 10-second thing of this monster is coming at some point. We don't know when, we don't know where, we don't know how. And then to like see it happen and how it happened. And, you know, even like Bananas taking the money and run, like we didn't know that was the twist. Like we didn't know Bananas was going to win. We didn't know he was going to take the money. So like it is a huge amount is tied into the shock factor. And to McCord's comment about, you know, letting us know that champs are coming in for the season, I think they, in some way, shape, or form, they had to tell us that champs were coming when they announced season 39, just because you look at the main cast and you're like, Hui? And like, you know, Zaza and you know, Hui and all these clowns, and you're probably ready to skip the season. And then they layer on, you know, CT, Laurel, all those clowns. So I think in some way you do have to say that champs are coming. But to your point, I think if we just go into season 39, not knowing when, not knowing how, we don't know, you know, maybe Jordan and another girl come on the same episode. Maybe they all come at once. Like maybe all the guys come at once. Like if we just don't know anything about how they're introduced to the game, then we don't know what to expect tonight. And then we don't know that Jordan's in the hallway there and it's just him one-on-one. Like it would have made it a whole lot better than it was. And the elimination itself, which we're going to touch on, was amazing. It was so fun to watch, but like the actual introduction of it could have been 10 times better.
Oh, absolutely. It was just one of those opportunities they had, and they just I don't know. I get it from both sides because you look at the ratings for the show right now, and it's the worst of all time. Let me go this route with you. Do you think tonight was the most watched episode of the season?
I think it has to be.
You think so?
I think it has to be just because, I mean, I know the first two episodes were the lowest ever, and then last week was, longer than Boogie Nights, and then this week it's shorter, but you also know that Jordan's on the show, so I think a lot more people are tuning in.
I think if like the fact that an episode 5 is your most watched episode is the biggest red flag in the world. It should always be your series opener or your finale. The fact that it's episode 5, I guarantee you look back at the last 10 seasons and see where episode 5 lies. Not spies, lies, and allies, but lies literally, like rating wise. I guaranteed it's like almost one of the bottom 10 ones, bottom 5 ones. So I don't know. I don't like the move. I get the move, but like, if this was a complete dark, like, oh, dude, I know Challenge Twitter has been like dead for a couple years now, but it's like one of those moments that it would have blown up on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean,
excuse me.
The more in the dark we are, the better. And again, I think tonight's episode was good, but it just could have been that much more memorable. Because like you would remember, because now like we're gonna remember the elimination, but because we knew for a several week long span that Jordan was coming in, we're not gonna remember like the reveal of Jordan as much.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the elimination. So like we said earlier, Jordan pulled the dagger. Sierra Mist's name was on there. So we have good old Jordan versus Sierra Mist. Keyboard Smash was like, oh, I wish I could have gone against you, blah, blah, blah. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, no, you don't. Your ass would have been gone. Like, come on.
He's an idiot.
So literally had Sierra Mist versus Jordan. What do we think about the elimination? Kind of like just sprinting back and forth. You're hitting the light. I will say, like, first thing I thought of is why is Jordan not doing what he did in round 3 and round 1? Like, so like waiting and kind of just very like goalkeeper-esque when the ball's right in front and the player has to run up and so then the goalie picks up the ball. That's what the vibe I got. But I don't know.
So I think we should break it down probably round by round.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest thing to do because, I don't know about you, but like the elimination itself, I did really enjoy. There was a lot of strategy. It was physical. There was some luck to it, in terms of like where you were, but it was, not enough luck to totally make it like, just a random competition. And there was just a ton of strategy. And so it was basically like over the course of a minute, which I'm assuming there wasn't a clock there, so they didn't know exactly how long they had been running.
A minute.
Yeah, a minute. Whoever has the most points within the minute wins, and then they do a best of 3. So the first round, Sierra actually wins. I think it was 6-3 was the score. And if you were to break down those 9 points, I think they kind of alternated for the first few, and then he just kind of slowly pulled away. But you could see, like, I mean, especially towards the end of that first round, you could see the wheels in Jordan's head turning. Like he, at some point when he got down a point or 2 points late in the round, like he knew he wasn't going to win, and he just started kind of observing like what was going on, where the lights were coming, how frequently, all that stuff. So I feel like the first round, Sierra did win, but he didn't. I mean, you knew he was like caught in a trap. What did you think?
Well, the first round, I mean, like you said, Jordan was studying. Is there a pattern? Will the lights disappear, or like what happens? So he was just kind of vibing while I think Sierra Mist used a lot of his energy in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan was just kind of just like, let me figure this out, which you go into round number 2. I mean, the audacity that Jordan in round number 2 let him get the first 2 and was just like, all right, let's do this. And just, I think he went on like a 6-0 run to make it 6-2, or I think it was like 6-3, maybe was the final. Like, unbelievable, unbelievable. When he was just like, "This is my house," oh, dude, I had chills. Like, it brought me back to good old like the good old days of the challenge. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you felt that way, but like
Oh yeah.
when
So
that confessional was one of the most badass things in challenge.
yeah, the transition from the end of round one to round two, where it's like Sierran literally won the first round, so he's up 1-0, but you can just tell Jordan's up to something. He's doing all the confessionals, and then they start round two, and he fucking stands still for the not the first 1 point, but the first 2 points, while Sierran is just sprinting up the wall, and you're watching it, and like I tweeted a couple things about this, but like I don't know if there's somebody, you can debate the best challenger of all time, whatever, the best elimination challenger, whatever. There's not somebody who's like more entertaining to watch when they are on top of their
Showman.
game
He's literally a
in
showman.
elimination, like Jordan. Like Bananas, CT West, they're all really good, but like Jordan does shit like in the tug of war against Josh, where like he lets Josh get to the edge of his thing and then gives him enough slack and then just pulls him right off. Like he does shit like that. He flips the cards. Like he is a fucking showman, but at the same time knows how to win and how to use that to his advantage. And so instantly just going through my head when I see him standing there for 2 points, I'm like, we are fucking lucky to get to watch this guy, even if it's just for a thing. And I mentioned last week that, through 5 episodes, our most likely highlight was going to be seeing Jordan compete in an elimination. And I think that's still like a bad thing because it's just such a small percentage. But like, I think I underestimated just how much fun seeing Jordan in an elimination is. Like, seeing him do this shit is just incredible.
Well, he's the type of person who is literally made for the challenge. He's that cocky, arrogant, like showman. I mean, we've said it a million times. Like, he is just so fun to watch because he does shit like this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, oh, it was great to see him. And then we go into round three.
So, hold on. So for round two, he lets him get 2 points, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like by the time Sierra gets back down to the middle, he's just so gassed out that Jordan just like sprints up for the next one. It's 2-1, and then like by the time he gets back down, you can see Jordan like is like ready to go, and Sierra is like still kind of burnt out from the first 2 points he got. So he just sprints back up the other one, and it's like 2-2, and then like it's kind of close, and then I think they start tackling each other. But then like from that point on, like Jordan had him. He just
Oh,
had.
not to mention too, like Jordan was literally saying, "That's three, that's four,
Mhm.
that's five," just to add insult to injury. Just getting him in the head. Get in Sierra Mist's head. Open that can of Sierra Mist and dump it out. So
He knew exactly what it was going to take to win round two. And then the best part was that he used all of that going into round three to do what I don't think Sierra ever would have thought of doing, which was if you're first to the buzzer, fucking stay there and
yes,
run the clock out. That was amazing.
I was surprised he didn't do that. And I also one thing I want to bring
I
up
think he was
too.
saving it for round three.
Yeah, one thing I want to bring up too is I wish they were allowed to tackle and hold.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, I didn't like that. You should be allowed to do that. Like the fact that we stand up or whatever, that's dumb. Um, but yeah, I mean Jordan just outsmarting, his opponents. I mean, what else is new?
Because it does two things. It not only runs the clock out, but like in such a intense back and forth elimination, like if Jordan runs up the wall and Sierra's standing on the sand, like he can Jordan can get 10 seconds of rest there, just standing there and like catch his breath. And Sierra is the one who has to like actually run up the hill to make him fucking press it, and then
let me
Jordan
go.
is just completely back to normal by then.
Let me go this route with you, and I don't want to mess with it if we think it's fine. This elimination, though, if we made it 30 feet longer on each side, maybe 20 feet longer on each side, and it was a best of seven, and it was straight up just one light, go. First one there. Would that have been better? So it would have just been a shootouts, best of 7 to hit.
The thing is, I think it would have been better for most matchups, but the fun thing about tonight was watching Jordan study round 1 and then basically kick his ass in round 2, and while he's kicking his ass, take notes about what he wants to do in round 3. So I think like if it was a 1 best of 7, I think Jordan would have gone all out from the first buzzer. Where like clearly this one he knew what he was doing. He was letting him make the mistakes, and so I think Jordan still would have won if it was a best of 7. But I think it was more entertaining for us for this specific matchup with Jordan in there to see 3 different rounds.
That's fair. That's fair. I was just curious. Like, you're talking about how, it was very physical and stuff like that. I just, if it was a 1 shootout and they're both looking at, a light and they're,
Well, yeah, and I was kind of wondering too, like what would they have done if in the 3rd round, if they had done it for another minute and the score was 4-4?
probably
Like,
that shootout style.
do you think they would have done like what if they would have done it where it was like they're both standing in the middle and there's 1 light and whoever touches it first wins?
That's what I just said.
Well, so in like best of 7 shortened down.
Yeah, it would have been a shootout style. So if it was tied, and that brought back the clock situation at the end when Jordan hit the last one. If I was Sierra Mist and you see him up there and it's a 3-3 game, and when it was 3-3 or whatever, it's close to a minute at that point. Why go up there and let him hit it? Just stand back.
Because then I
You know
think
what I'm saying?
Jordan
And then time would run out, is what I'm saying.
because you can't see the clock.
You can't see the clock. So what I'm saying is you kind of just like act like you're going to go up, and because then it's just Jordan guessing on his time.
Yeah.
Like if I'm Sierra Mist, why run up those steps and hit it?
And the thing I would have disliked if they had did like a 1 light shootout for a tiebreaker would just be there were a couple times where they're standing there and you have to look back and forth on the sides for the light, and so like if you happen to look the wrong way and your opponent looks the right way, you're screwed. Like they're gone 10 steps.
And that's why I brought up if it was like 20 feet longer, so there would be
You could catch up.
Correct. Yeah. A better chance than how
Yeah.
close it was. So, but like we said, Jordan pulled out the dub, eliminated Sierra Mist. He takes $10,000 away from the entire group, which, that's just, I think that is a pretty damn good thing. He gets 10K. He goes back to the Redemption House and watches HBO Max with Kenny for the rest of the night. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, just an all-time legend. It was funny. I tweeted out, what would you put on the Jordan Mount Rushmore of challenge moments? But this morning, and I think this moment is high up there. I mean, obviously, I think it's hard to make it on the Mount Rushmore in this case because you're not actually on the season. But if you're talking about the moment itself, like does it matter what you're doing long term? I guess I don't know. Long story short, this moment was incredible, and I think it was a great lead off to get us into chaos and to get us into all the champs coming in. Like, there's no better person to start us off than Jordan, and to see him start on a win was great too.
Let me ask you this, and I know we've talked about this a million times. We've literally done Champions Tour, Legends Tour podcast. I don't need a 20-minute. I don't need a 20-minute thing. I don't want a 10-minute thing. Just a simple thing. Is Jordan the greatest challenger of all time? I think male competitor, he is the best male of all time. The end.
I'm gonna still say no.
Are you going CT?
I mean, I think I'm still going the Banana Man. Okay. If you're asking me best resume of all time, then I'm probably going Jordan.
I mean, well, that's the thing.
That's what makes this fun.
All right. This is an off-season pod. We could talk about this for hours. Because I agree. Bananas might be the GOAT of the challenge, but Jordan might be the greatest competitor of all time on the challenge.
That's fair.
If that makes sense. Like, Bananas is literally the challenge.
I think we're in a classic
I mean, think about this. Bananas
You're
has
just
been
gonna be
brought up more times. Bananas has been brought up more times this season than Kim and Colleen, and they're on
that's
this season,
that's
and
true.
she's on. So, all right, what do we got? Segments tonight.
Should we get into some segments? So, all right. So, just to wrap us up there, Jordan wins. He takes 10K. So they're back down to 396, which was a question we had watching. It was like, what does this mean for the dailies now? I guess there is no money involved. So
Mhm.
it might be a low pot. Jordan just took 10K. And, he's going back home. And then Sierran's gone. So now we have one more girl than guy. And then we're anticipating a girls' elimination next week. So let's
Segment.
get into some segments. Whoa. The first one we have here is just going to be a quick little revisit of our Stir the Props. I think it's been a couple weeks maybe since we talked about this. So this is going to be just looking for our Stir the Prop bets.
Dot, dot,
Do you
dot.
remember what yours was?
I think I did episodes,
Number of episodes, right?
and I want to. I
Oh, I
want to
got it.
put. I want to. I want to talk about that one. Mine was like 17 and a half episodes, wasn't it?
Yes.
We all agree that this is episode 5, not 4. Like, I know this is our 4th pod, but for the over, like, that counts as 5.
Yes. It was 2 episodes. They ended it and started it.
Okay, just making sure it was the same night. I just wanted to make sure. So I feel great about that. I'm on a great pace right now. I mean, yeah.
We really are, and I don't think. I mean, I talked about this earlier. How excited I am. I don't think we're at the point yet where we feel like we're dragging because we kind of got this second life with all the champs. So I think we could end up with an over 18, 19 episodes and still have a pretty good season.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean,
What else?
the episodes one is an easy one to count up. The next one we have is over under a half. So is this going to happen or not? Of somebody getting kicked off, quitting, or basically leaving the show through a non-injury. Hasn't happened yet, right?
And I think, honestly, I took the over to that. I think the longer the season goes on, the better that is.
Well, yeah, you get more chances.
Oh, come on. I was just going to say, like, I feel like most people don't screw up towards the end. And we just don't fight anymore. I mean, bring back the booze. Bring back.
Well, I remember. I think Nam's lower back racked up a few LVPs back in the day.
Who? Wait, Nam?
The next one, we actually got our first one tonight. So this was the number of elimination wins by mercenaries.
What was the over under? 5.5?
4.5.
Okay.
So right now we had 0 up to this point, and now we have 1.
And I took the over, right?
Close, yes, it was close to 0, but we have 1 now. So I don't know if we know. I don't know if they were telling us who the girl is next week, but we'll just have to. This is the part of the season where I feel like we'll have to keep track of that one.
Cool.
This one, I can't remember if we have any. It was 2.5 over under calls to unique challengers not on this season. Have we had any?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have. I think we have.
I think we've had a lot of mentions, but not.
Chauncey never called Amber, right?
No.
I think they just talked about her. I don't think anybody's called Nelly. They've just been talking about him.
Bananas as well.
Bananas. Callum called his girlfriend, but she's not been on the show.
Is that the only call we've gotten this season?
It might be.
I didn't think we had another one.
Trev, let me ask you this.
Oh, God.
So it's 2.5 calls to unique challengers not on this season. So basically people who have been on the challenge before. What if next week Melissa calls her baby?
What, the baby picks up the phone?
Well, somebody's there and, she wants to see her daughter or whatever. Her daughter who ran the final in her stomach on Vendettas. Does that count?
People forget. I mean, wait, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Melissa's baby the closest somebody's gotten out of this season to winning?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I think if she did do that, it would count. But I think right now we're at 0.
Okay.
So that's it for our battle for new champion props. Should we get into some MVP, LVP?
Let's do it. MVP, LVP time. You guys know what to do. First order we get will be the order of MVP and LVP tonight. So submit our names in the chat. My guess is Alex Trev would be my guess, but we'll see.
I feel like there's a few good options here.
I think you can go a lot of different directions tonight. Ooh, Trev Alex.
Oh, good. I get LVP first.
God, watch it. All right. My MVP tonight, pretty straightforward. I mean, we all know where I'm going with this. The GOAT himself. It's got to be Jordan. I mean, Jordan literally dominated tonight. I mean, I think one moment too, when he wins, the camera shot, and I don't really give that many props to, what's it called? I don't give too many props to production, but when Jordan did the like looking over, yeah, that was badass. That was awesome. I mean, Jordan, the fucking GOAT. He's awesome. 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Let's do it.
It was, I mean, that's a great pick. It was like we had high expectations for him coming on tonight, and he blew those out of the water. Like, that's just how good and how consistent, how reliable, how legendary he is. I mean, that was definitely the way to go, I feel like, for MVP. If I can't go Jordan, it's almost like I could pick a few other humans, a few other people, but like everybody just pales in comparison. Like none of these clowns actually won an elimination. Corey was fighting and everything. So I think for my MVP, I'm gonna go with the theme of the night. I'm gonna go with chaos.
I mean, come on, that's just chaotic.
I'm going with chaos because tonight was true chaos. It really was. We got Jordan coming in. We got switching the seasons. We got some drama. We got the club, and it really does feel like the second part of the season started tonight, and it's just chaos. And seeing their reactions to, I mean, just when Ed from the Circle says that's chaos right there, that's just incredible. And they're predicting rules just based on the fact that TJ says chaos. I mean, that's just chaos.
It's insane.
So my MVP is going to be chaos.
Great pick. Great pick. LVP tonight, who you got for us?
My LVP is going to be foreshadowing.
Yep, great pick.
LVP is going to be foreshadowing, and it probably wouldn't. It was bad enough when they foreshadowed Corey and Asaf, but it probably wouldn't have been my LVP pick if it weren't for the just absurd insertion of Jordan into the conversation between Raven and Sierran. I mean, we talked about it, so I won't go into it, but it couldn't have been any worse. And, the second, we already knew Jordan was coming in, but then you're starting to be like, all right, Sierran's probably going in against him. Just a terrible instance of foreshadowing, arguably the worst of all time.
Great pick. I mean, honestly, that's where I was going to go, which means you just give me my other option. In my LVP tonight, and I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. My LVP tonight is Andy missing this moment. Because I really think there will not be a better moment than what we just had tonight. And him not being live for this moment is terrible. Like, I could not imagine rewatching this and not recording a pod, seeing the chat blow up like it has tonight, and just not being able to talk about it right away. So I feel terrible about Andy not being live to watch. I'll say that Andy being live is my LVP, right? That would be the correct way to say.
So is it Andy?
Well, yeah, that's fine. But I wanted to say like Andy not being live,
and Andy missing the episode.
And not joining the pod, not joining the chaotic pod afterwards.
Andy missing the chaos.
Yeah, Andy missing the chaos. I like that. That's my LVP tonight. Andy missing the chaos. I like that. That needs to be word for word. So make sure that's the LVP tonight. I like that. Thank you, Alex.
Any honorable mentions? MVP, LVP.
Keyboard Smash is always up there. I like to give my other LVP honorable mention to Emmanuel. I mean, what the fuck was he doing with him turning his back on Jordan? The amount of disrespect that he gave him, fuck him. Like
That
that
was
was
all.
unbelievable.
I honestly, I mean, we both had LVP. We both had good LVP picks, but I wish we had a third or a fourth person that could take Emmanuel because of just how embarrassing that was. Like, what are you fucking doing? You're turning your back on a legend just to turn your back on him because you're too good for him.
I wish Jordan called him out. I was hoping he would say, "You got to earn your stripes." God, if he said that one more time,
It made me
it would have just been even better. It would have even been a more chaos
it
episode.
made me upset because it was like I wish the format was Jordan could stay here for a month, and next guy's elimination, Emmanuel could vote himself in, and then they go head to head. But obviously, we know it's going to be a different guy next time, so that it just pissed me off. Like him talking, it's classic Jordan saying like, "You could have gone down here. Like I fucking flipped 3 cards with one hand last time. Like you could have sent yourself in here if you wanted to."
Yeah. God. Also, I see in the chat, Ryan McCord writes, honorable mention Adam for missing out too. Wasn't he a prop bet too? That it was a prop bet. People forget that was 0.5 episodes him showing up, and currently he is at 0. So it is what it is, as we always say. So, any other honorable mentions? How about MVPs? Any honorable mentions?
Any honorable? I don't feel like you could say Corey because he just got it. He won the challenge, but he just got into the drama too much.
Clerb,
The club, yeah, the outfits for God's sakes.
the streak.
You could say.
I also want to throw an honorable mention to LVP out there as well, and I've taken it as an LVP. But seriously, what has happened to ridiculousness not leading us into the challenge? It really feels it rubs me the wrong way. It really does. It doesn't. There's nothing better than going from yeah, 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 yeah. Warning: the following stunts from the show or whatever. Like it's just iconic. It's chaos.
Yeah, it's like you don't know what you have until it's gone.
I know. It just doesn't feel right. And no offense to Neve and that other dude from Catfish. It's just not hitting me right.
Well, and like I mean, I'll like scroll on the guide sometimes to see the challenge description or what's on before it. Not only do I not see ridiculous before the challenge, I don't really see it anywhere, which is troubling because remember it used to be like 90% of MTV's program.
Remember when we pulled it up the one time and it was like I think the challenge was we looked at a week and the only thing that was on MTV for the week was ridiculousness for like 5 straight days, and then the challenge was on, and then the other 2 days were
It was like 90% ridiculousness, 5% the challenge, 5% everything else.
Well, the other 5% too was also they would throw like the smirkiest movies, like Step Brothers in at like 2 a.m.
They would do like old school.
It's like who's watching this at 2 a.m.?
Knocked up.
Cuts to us watching it at 2 a.m.
As we're recording the pod. I would say my other honorable mention for MVP would be Horacio. Okay. Because two things. He didn't do a whole lot, but he treated Jordan with the respect, and seeing Jordan saying, "Oh, you kicked my ass last year," and Horacio was just like, "Oh no, you're a legend," blah blah blah. Like that's just that. It kind of felt like
it's very Jeter's nephew tipping the cap.
Yeah, and it felt like kind of felt like Brady passing the torch to Mahomes. It's like I'm not going to be here for much longer. I've seen how talented you are in a short span. Like you're going to be the next guy. So like
I don't know how much I got left in me.
And then that's the first part, and then also the fact that he's starting to hook up with Nerys. I mean, that's awesome.
Good for him. Anything else from tonight's episode?
I don't think so. I feel like we're in a very, very, very good spot.
Wait a minute. Breaking news. I did just receive a video from the Andy Man. Let's see. Here we go.
What up? What up? Sorry.
Oh, wait. Shit.
What up? What up? Sorry, I can't be live with you guys tonight. You know, things happen. Things happen. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. I do want to give my MVP, LVP, MVP. It's gonna be Jordan. Obviously, he's back. LVP is gonna be. I kind of want to do like a hand up to myself, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna do LVP. Berna. Oh yeah, easy. She might be my new default one for this year. But again, sorry I'm not there live with you guys. I hope you get to see this. Just know I'll be back bringing the juice next week, even though the show sucks. But love you guys. See you next week.
Jesus. Berna.
I mean, I think this is the face of somebody who's scared of Fezzi.
God. God. That's a good point.
Oh, Mr. Fezzi, I'm scared. All right, we're done. Let's cut this pod. We're done.
Let's cut this. What an episode. Love it.
God, all I can say is, Alex, I'm glad we were live to watch it. Anything else? I think the last thing, we just tip our caps and say, what a chaotic episode.
We are officially in fucking chaos.
We are just all in. So thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I've been your host, Trevor. You can follow us on Twitter at Stir the Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Stir_the_pod. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Shout out Duffy. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.